Hi class, we're going to continue our discussion about power of the speaker. And so we've looked at ethos, where we went over competence, attractiveness, integrity, and power. And now we're going to look at the other side of that, the bookend, which is called the ethics of the speaker. So briefly, I'm going to go over these 4 things that help to increase our sense of ethics. Ethics and integrity are pretty closely linked, that we talked about over here too, so it might be a little repetitive. But first of all, you must think about respect for the audience. Who is in your audience in terms of diversity or differences? And you may not think, even if you come from the same place, there are differences, but there are. Some people are rural, urban, male, female, baby boomer, traditional college age student, for example. So we might have different ages in class. And so we want to respect and be sensitive to those differences, and it's difficult to find a topic sometimes that really will appeal to everyone. We'll talk about topic choice a little bit after this as well. But to be sensitive to that anyway, and I'm thinking about some of you from international locations. You're an international student here. How valuable it would be for you to tell us about the housing in your country, or places to travel in your countries, or various things you'd like us to know about your country's history. Would really be interesting. And for those of us, we come to the speaking setting as we are. 99% below the surface, and the part we show others is about 1%. But we bring our different personalities, our genetics, our ethnicity, our gender identity, who we are, we bring to the speaking setting. And out there with our audience, it's a diverse set of the same thing. No one is really alike, even twins, everyone. I've discovered that after having twins in class. They're really not alike at all. So we have to be open and sensitive to difference. Otherwise, we may come off as kind of a bully if we want to do things our way all the time. So respecting who is in your audience. The second R word is responsible knowledge. Try to leave out biases or personal prejudices in your informed speeches. Just the facts. It's no opinions. It's no twisting us, turning us one way or the other, advocating from one side or another. It is totally the facts. This is about this. I'm not encouraging you to go ahead and do this, but I'm going to teach you, let's say, about rollerblading or some such skill. No, you don't have to take lessons from me. I'm not saying that. We're just going to talk about it. So no bias or personal prejudices, and you want to be accurate in your research, and you want to be objective in your research as well. Try to find different sides and present both, for example. And not to exaggerate or oversimplify the issue. Oh, it would be so easy only if we just do this. Well, that's very simplified, or something that is over-exaggerated. We hear this a lot in the media coverage of many of our political issues, so we want to try to not exaggerate or oversimplify. This is that importance over here again, knowing both sides of the story as well. The third R is accurate reporting. So once you have your knowledge and your research, you need to report it accurately in your speech and in your outline. So this is your sources of information. For example, if you pull up WebMD, okay, that's a good place to start, isn't it? But instead, who wrote this? Oh, it's a researcher from Mayo. Let's go there and click on that. Wikipedia. Other professors would say, don't even go there. I'm like, start there, it's okay. I've done that so many times as a writer. I go there, I had to write a story about bull riding. Well, what do I know? Not a darn thing. So now I know a lot. But I started with Wikipedia, and then I went to some rodeo sites to learn about what's up with bull riding and why would people want to do this. So look a little bit deeper, dive a little bit deeper, especially for persuasion where you have more at stake. You're expecting people to buy this car. Well, are you reporting accurately some recalls or something like that? Or you want people to have a certain diet, improve their diet. What if it makes people sick? I mean, you really have to think about that, because people will like, oh, I'm going to try that. And what if? So you have to talk about those kinds of things in your sources of information. Try to dive deeper than just the easy way. You can start with Wikipedia, but it's like stepping into the baby pool. You want to do the deep dive by the time you get into your longer speeches. So it's okay, it's just don't use it for your main, and people will turn you off if that's going to be your source too. If you give opinions of others, let's say the doctor from Mayo Clinic who's doing the research on Lyme disease, for example, what are the qualifications of that person? You know, is it an intern? Is it an 8th grade science project? Who is that person that is speaking? So when you tell us it's Dr. Joseph Smith from Mayo, who's been researching Lyme disease since 1960, and well, there you go. Okay, so try to give the qualifications of that person. This is also on plagiarism. As a writer, I have had an article taken from me. It's not pleasant. I will just say that right now. I would have had legal grounds, but it wasn't worth it to hire a lawyer. But somebody took my story, put their name on it, and it appeared. It happened to be the editor that did that. And I was like, really? So it doesn't feel good to have my writing and what I worked hard on taken from me and have someone else's name put on it. Usually if you're a first-year student, you're just confused about how you should cite something and when. You don't want to oversight either because you have your own words, but be extra careful about doing that because professors in other classes will be very quick to ask you, would that be your own work or is that from someone else? So if you sound too smart in your speech, I'll say, did you do the survey? Did you do this survey? That's a national survey. Well, then who did? And where do we go to look? So when you are reporting your facts accurately, you are telling your audience, this is a code that if you want to look up about Lyme's disease, you can go to the Mayo Clinic, maybe from 2012, what month, what's the author, and I can find that just by hearing you. Okay, I am the only one that sees your bibliography. Your audience hears, I want to look that up. Where is it? Tell me where it is. So that's another thing about finding that, and you usually see that it's going to be just more than one source, that you have two. Your first two speeches on self-introduction and elevator, nothing. Don't really need to worry about that. But the other ones, you need 2 sources, 3 sources, 4. It's gonna increase with amount of points. So just remember, and there's information in your text also on plagiarism and when to do that. And if you're confused, be sure to ask, and even ask the librarian. That's just fine, and more than just one source. So that is accurate reporting. And then finally, always with your words, and now as it is with all of our channels of communication, there are consequences to your words. Whether you like it or not, and believe it or not, the Me Too movement, there are big consequences to people that have been hurt and haven't dared to speak up and needed to speak up. So by virtue of one person bullying another, by use of words, or harassing another, there are consequences. And sometimes people don't get caught, but sometimes they need to get caught, and it's revealed to us. So no matter where you stand on that, this is a perfect example of consequences. And there's always things that come up that demean the reputations of others that might not be true. So we can't just throw words out there and expect sometimes you won't get some consequences. You ever been in an argument with someone and you're like, I want to redo and I want to take back everything that I said there? Okay? So yeah, I have a few times with my children. They can tell you. Remember that day you called us that, Mom? I'm like, nope. Yes, I do, and I know why too. But anyway, I regret sometimes saying what I have said in the past. So let's recap ethics, and then we'll move on a bit to topics. But first you want ethos, and then the ethics would be respect for your audience, diversity, differences, who's there, respect that, responsible knowledge. This is your research, okay? You hang on this, so it's important. Reporting your research accurately, citing your sources, finding the best research that you can. And then there may be consequences, so sometimes, maybe not so much in a speech, but really think about what you're going to say, and inside of you, you should get some internal communication that might say, I got a red flag on this. I don't know if I should talk about this. So pay attention to your own feelings on that, is what's appropriate in your speech or not. So we'll close off our session with the sender here, how you can be a strong speaker and an ethical, well-respected speaker at the same time. So thank you very much.